Ugh. Okay, I know it looks like I'm running away from home today, but I'm not. I need this because today I'm testing that. Now, you could tell that this was a new HR-V, right? I mean, it's got this light bar that stretches clear across the back of the car, and it actually does light up at night. I can't show you that now, but take it from me, it does. Now, of course, this is 2022, so every car has to have one now. But it is a nice touch, and I don't want to talk too much about design because my colleague Darren has done a really good walk-around video of the new HR-V. You can watch it by clicking here or maybe here. I don't know, you know what to do. But in the meantime, let's put this thing to the test and show you why I brought this irritating thing along with me. Okay, so the last HR-V had quite a big boot. It was 470 liters if I remember correctly. So let's put this one to the test. Okay, well, it's not gonna fit this way, but it does actually fit in quite nicely like that. It's not even all that snug actually. So that's not too bad. And if it hadn't fit, there is another solution which I will show you later. Now, if you ask me, the very first HR-V from more than 20 years ago was quite a cool car. Let's have a shot of it here and see if you agree. Now, wasn't that nice? But back to this one, I really like the way they've done the front grille on this. I mean, a lot of Asian manufacturers like to put big chrome grills on the front now to express, I don't know, wealth and ostentation or something like that. But I love how this one kind of blends in with the bodywork as if it's just a seamless part of the car. I mean, this is quite a cool feature. Don't you agree, cameraman? No? Well, okay, that just goes to show design is a matter of taste, but this car does suit my taste because I love how minimalist it all is. I love how clean the lines are. Even the way the bonnet has this crease here. I'm not sure if you can see it because it's such a bright day. There is a nice curve here as well that kind of actually makes this part of the car looks like it sits slightly proud of the front end. But never mind all that, I like the slim headlights as well. And let's have a look at the car. Now, the HR-V, the last one was actually quite a coupe-like design. So the roofline actually swept down quite low towards the back. This one doesn't actually do it that much. It's actually more boxy than before. And I think that's been done for a good reason. But have a look at this. This is quite an interesting design element. I mean, this line here and these plastic bits here kind of break up what would have been quite a big surface here. Oh, but check that out, 16-inch wheels. So this is the 1.5 and it gets 16-inch wheels. The hybrid, I believe, has 18s, and you're probably saying 16 inches, that's not enough for me. I need 26 inches, I need 29 inches. But honestly speaking, I actually prefer cars to have smaller wheels because it makes them nicer to ride in, and it makes them actually a bit nicer to drive as well. Well, that's just me. I tell you what though, the most HR-V of HR-V items on this car is of course the hidden door handle, and that makes this car kind of preserve that illusion of being a coupe. This of course grants you access to the back, and I do want to take you inside, but it is a hot day today, so I'm gonna move this car into the shade and then we can check out the back. Oh man, okay, what dumbass put this here? Let's get this out of the way without scratching the car. Okay, hey, great. So now all I have to do is this and that, and voila. Okay, whew, I am so glad to be in the shade because it looks like I'm lactating here. Well, it looks like I'm very saggy and lactating, but never mind. That just reminds me that if the aircon were running now, I would be sitting pretty because I have these two rear aircon vents now, which I don't think the last HR-V had, so that's an improvement. I don't see any USB charging points back here, so that's a minus, but oh, there are these pockets I want to show you. I guess, handy place to keep your phone. Not so sure what you would put down here, but oh, there are cup holders here. Oh, but listen to this. That's very scratchy, and the same is true for the rest of the car. Okay, I'm not done being irritating yet, but the point is some of these plastics do really feel built down to a cost. They do feel like they would last forever, but they're actually not very nice to feel. But never mind, you know, I have shown you that this is a very practical car. This seat does it as well. You saw that in the Honda Jazz. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can click here or maybe here to see our Jazz review. Ooh, and of course, it does fold down and pivots out of the way as well. So you have a very nice flat loading surface. Very practical, this car, and I like that. Let me just get that out of the way, and everything is more or less one-handed. You know what though? I think that I'm not sure how they've done it, but this car has the same wheelbase as the last HRV, but somehow it feels much more spacious than before. I'm not really lacking headroom, and even if I sit in the middle, it's actually not too bad. There is a massive amount of legroom as well. I mean, this seat is where I would have it if I were driving, and just look at that, there's just so much room in here. So, I mean, this magic seat is impressive, but I think the real magic is how they've made this car more spacious without increasing its size. But so much for the back seats. If you want to find out what it's like to drive, there's only one place to go. This is a very straightforward cabin. It's very typically Honda because everything is kind of easy to see and everything is within reach. This version of the car does have analog gauges, but I think the hybrid has a much more digital screen. I like analog, so I'm quite happy with this. I'll get to this later on, but let's have a look at some of these surfaces here. There's a tray here for your phone and one up here as well. I've got quite a big fat Android phone here. Let's see. It just about fits in there, but I think it looks much better there. Not too many buttons actually. There's one for economical driving, and then hill descent control. It's useful off-roading, but I'm not taking this off-roading. Oh, and I quite like this actually. The last HRV I think had the kind of slidey kind of, kind of poke it or slide it, and this one has nice knobs that you can fiddle with. It actually feels really nice. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't really like to do this so much. I like to do this, so this is actually much more to my taste. Okay, I would think the steering wheel has a few buttons, but not all that many. There's some missing for audio controls. And I think that has to do with this aftermarket system. Okay, so let's have a closer look at this Alpine system here. Now, the screen is 9 inches and it's actually fairly straightforward. I think, you obviously push radio if you want radio. There is a button here marked cam and, okay, so that's actually for the back. It's looking at the sky because my tailgate is open, oops. But anyway, let me show you what happens when I plug in this big fat Android phone here. And it starts to charge, of course, and you can see this Android Auto button. It lights up and straight away it goes to Android Auto. So here I am in the Maps function. Obviously I've got my podcast and all that kind of stuff, So I think, if you're an Android user, then this is quite fun to play with. But when I unplug my phone, all this goes away. And I do want to show you something else, which is what happens if you're an Apple user. So there is CarPlay here, but I think what we do is, I'm going to do this in real time as well. Let's add a new device, and I'm just going to go to my Bluetooth settings. Here we are. So I'm going to look for my phone, and oh, there it is already. iPhone, haha, get it. So anyway, it's connecting, and let's see how long it takes. We'll do this in real time together. Just connect. Oh, I hit pair here, and I hit allow. Blah, blah, blah. I guess they're talking to each other, having phone sex. And okay, we can start CarPlay. And there should be one more confirmation here before I can get going. Oh no, actually that's it. So let's put this away. And you can see that, the Apple interface, of course, is different. And, Apple CarPlay is something that's quite easy to use. There is a button here I can use to summon Siri. Let's see. Send a WhatsApp message to Stinky Face. Let's see what happens.
What do you want to say?
Just wanted to show you that, it's really much easier to use CarPlay, especially if you don't like cables. And I think a lot of people are a bit upset about the fact that this is not integrated like a Honda system and you can't control it from the steering wheel. And I think that's a pity too, but I have to say that if you're an Android Auto or a CarPlay user, you should be pretty happy with what you're getting here. Now, before we go any further, I just want to pause and talk about the price of this car a little bit. Now, this is the basic 1.5 litre version of the HRV, and that is 124,999 Singapore dollars. The hybrid is actually closer to 160,000. And this is as we film in February 2022. Now, I have here these 4 cans of Olden Landia water, and let's just pretend each one is worth $30-something thousand. So I've got $120,000 here, right? I just want to make the point that half of what you're paying for this car is actually for the COEs. And that's because COEs just hit $60,000 as we film this. And if you remember, like 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, in fact, COEs for this car would have cost about $30,000. So right about 2 years ago, this same car would have cost $90-something thousand. But here we are in 2022, so I have to add this back in. and we're back to $120 something thousand. So in case you were wondering why this seems to have cost so much more than its predecessor, well, that's the reason. While you think about all that, I think just gonna have a drink and enjoy about $30 something thousand worth of water. Cheers. And now we come to the favorite part of all car reviews, which is driving the car, not just because of this sweet, sweet aircon. And straight away I can tell you that this being a Honda is just so easy to get to grips with. You can jump in, you can figure out everything right away and just go. And I do like that, but you know, I'm gonna stand by what I said earlier about some of these plastics. They really feel quite scratchy and hard wearing. I suppose that means they'll last forever. It's not gonna melt. This one's not too bad actually. And okay, that's kind of padded, so maybe people rest their arms there, I don't know. But you know, it does feel like built down to a cause, and at the same time, I'm pretty sure this is never going to melt, even under the tropical sun. Same thing applies to the steering wheel as well. It's not a fancy leather wrap thing, but it does feel pretty tough. So I don't know, you have to choose, I guess. One thing I have noticed about this car though is that it's not a fast car. It's a 1.5 litre with 118 horsepower. And it's got a CVT, so the acceleration is quite smooth and pretty seamless. But once the light turns green, I can tell you what I mean when I say it's not a fast car. And something you might notice as well, especially if you're listening to this with headphones, is that Honda didn't exactly spend a lot of money on sound insulation. Here we are, green light. I'm gonna give it full throttle, right? And it's kind of gentle off the line. Oh, it's making quite a lot of noise, but not too much forward acceleration. You know, I don't know what the 0 to 100 is, but this kind of feels like a 12-second car. And, you know, there was a lot of noise. Let me do that again. But not a lot of forward acceleration. I mean, I'm not nowhere near in danger of losing my license, I can tell you. So this car is not fast, and actually it's not super frugal either. I think the fuel consumption figure is something like 5.8 liters per 100 kilometers. So, you know, it's not super like allergic to burning petrol, but I think that there are some ways this car is quite interesting from the driving seat point of view, and that's in the way it actually does some of the driving for you. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, I'm just joining a bit of highway here. Let me just push these buttons and turn on a few things. I'm gonna switch on the cruise control system, the lane keep assist system. Now this car has something called Honda Sensing, and it's got a camera that can kind of look out for lanes on the road, as well as for traffic in front of me. So let's find a truck we can follow. I'm sure the car will be able to see that. Okay, one's just pulled out in front of me. That's perfect. Now, so what I'm going to do is set the cruise control on to, let's say, 70, and you can see that the car has kind of locked on to the vehicle in front of me. So I've taken my foot off the gas, and even though, you know, it's basically set now to 80, I'm just following this truck, which is, you know, rolling along at 60 something. So that is the active cruise control part. Of course, if he slows down, the car slows down automatically. And if he comes to a stop, this car will actually stop as well. And then if it's after a certain amount of time, you have to launch it again. But you can imagine how useful that would be in a traffic jam, right? You know, start, stop, start, stop. You don't really have to do that much. And like now, I'm just being lazy and I have my feet on the floor instead of on the accelerator. And I don't have to brake, I don't have to do nothing. Something else I want to show you though is the lane keep assist system. Let's drop that down to like 70 something, you know, because I'm law abiding that way. And I don't know if you can see this, but there are green lines on the display now, which tells you the car can see the lanes. And I'm not supposed to do this, but okay, this is only for science. Don't do this at home. And I'm ready to take back control at any time, but the car is actually steering itself now to stay within the lane. Now, this is actually becoming quite a common feature. It's gonna tell me to take back control. It says steering required now, but okay. But I don't know if you saw that, but the car actually did turn itself a little bit, and that's because, you know, we came to a bit of a corner. So again, it's got cameras to look out for lane markings, and it can kind of steer itself. Now the whole reason for that is not so that the car can drive itself for you, as much as we like to think. It's more like so the car can give you an assist. So if you're in a kind of driving situation where you're kind of relaxed and you're kind of driving like this, the car can kind of help to keep you in lane, and it can help with your sort of speed control with vehicles in front of you. It even has collision mitigation, which means if you don't brake hard enough to avoid something, or if you don't brake hard enough to keep yourself from having a major smash, it can actually do some of the braking for you. So all these Honda sensing features are not about driving the car for you or about taking control away from you. They're more about safety and about giving you a more relaxed time behind the wheel. So let's summarize. Should you at least consider this car? Should you run away screaming or should you buy it? Well, if you ask me, the answer is you should consider it. Now, what do people want from a car in Singapore? Well, most people want a car that looks good, not a pain in the ass to own and reliable, and maybe something a little bit plush. Well, the HR-V is kind of 2.5 of those things out of 3. To me anyway, it does look really appealing, and it is a Honda, so you know it's not going to break down on you. But that touchscreen does feel very aftermarket, and you can see how the car is built down to a cost inside. It doesn't have fancy equipment either. There's no wireless charging, for example. It's only a single zone climate control, and you even have to switch on the windshield wipers yourself. But I do like how practical it is. I can see this being the kind of car that can follow you throughout different stages of your life. It's kind of stylish and lifestyle-y enough that will serve you well when you're in that party time of your life. And yet it's practical and roomy enough so that when the children come along, you won't feel like you automatically have to upgrade or at least upsize. And nowadays we're having to pay so much for our cars that you may as well get one that will last you a long time or at least serve you a long time. And I think the HR-V is one of those cars. That's our review of the new Honda HR-V. There's plenty more to see and read on carbuyer.com.sg. You can't click this, but you can click that. Thank you for watching, and if you do want to thank us, well, one of the best ways to do it would be to like this video, leave a comment, or subscribe. That would really help us out. Meanwhile, see you next time.